Good afternoon. My name is Victoria Sellers. My sponsor is TMMK, and my personal safety commitment is to always cross aisleways at designated intersections. And today I will be talking about the 5S process. There are 5 steps in the 5S process: sift, sort, sweep and shine, spick and span, and sustain. Each of these 5 steps are responsible for covering an area of cleanliness or organization that can be employed in any area. I know that a lot of companies, manufacturing companies especially, follow this process very, very well. I know that my sponsoring company, TMMK, uses this process very much, constantly, on a daily basis. Any area you go into will have a 5S process and standard posted. And it is your responsibility as an employee to follow this 5S standard. If you see any item out of its place, if you see any mess, it is your responsibility for putting it back or for cleaning it up and following that 5S standard. So since this process is so important to my sponsoring company, I have decided to practice it by employing it to a part of my daily life. I have decided to 5S a bookshelf that is beside my bed. As you can see from this before picture, it is very cluttered, very disorganized, very messy, and just not clean or organized or orderly in any way. And you can tell that just by looking at it. So the first step in this process is sift. This first step is used to determine what is and is not needed in an area. And any items that you've determined that are not needed are supposed to go to a red tag area. A red tag area is almost like a place for different areas to communicate with each other. So any items that you have determined are not needed in your area may be needed in another area. And a way for you to communicate this or for other areas to see this is by placing those items that are not needed in the red tag area. Because if another area needs that specific item, they can go and check it out from the red tag. This step overall is just to create the basic standard of cleanliness of what is supposed to be in that area and what is not. As you can see, I have employed this on my bookshelf by getting rid of a lot of the clutter that was there. There was a lot of stuff that was not needed. There were empty cans, there were cups, bowls, butter knives. I mean, just the works of a bunch of stuff that was not supposed to be there. And so I took those items and I either threw them away, such as the cans, or I placed them back in their correct spots, such as the bowls and cups. The second step in this process is sort. Sort is when you take every item that you've determined is needed in your area and you set a home position for it. And you do this by using visual controls. And these visual controls can be anything from labeling to outlining a spot for that specific item. This step is also used to create a map in order as another visual control. So another part of setting the home position is letting everybody know where that home position is. By labeling and using other visual controls, by posting a map, an area layout map, so that anyone who walks into that area knows immediately where the home position is for everything. As you can see, I employed this in my bookshelf by placing the items that I determined were needed back in their spot. Everything is organized and lined up and where it's supposed to be. The third step in this process is sweep and wash. Sweep and wash is used to determine if any item is out of its place. So you should be able to walk into any area and tell if there are any abnormalities whatsoever. And this is by looking at the visual controls that were set in the last step. This process is also used, as it stated, to sweep and to wash, to clean up any mess that is in that area, any dust, any dirt, any grime, any sort of mess of that nature. As you can see, I employed this in my bookshelf by cleaning off some of the dust. As you can see in this before picture, though it's a little difficult to see, it's there. There's some dust in front of these books. And in the after picture, I cleaned it off. I swept and washed it away. The fourth step in this process is spick and span. And spick and span is also known as standardize. In this step, you want to take everything that you've done in your last 3 steps and make it a standard. And this is generally done by creating a standard list that is also posted in the area along with the assignment map or the home position map. Generally, you should be able to walk into any area with this step and tell what is out of place, tell what is abnormal, what is not where it's supposed to be, are there any messes? You should be able to tell. This step generally will have not a before picture, but an after picture of what a good condition looks like in that area. So what everything in its home position looks like, what everything cleaned and organized looks like. As you can see from this example I have of my bookshelf, I took one of my perfume bottles and I moved it out of its spot, and you can tell almost immediately, very clearly, that something is not right, something is not lined up, something is not organized, and that is what you should be able to do in this step when you reach it. And the last step of the 5S process is sustain. So sustain is essentially taking your last step of standardize and making it company-wide, making sure that it is followed by every employee. And this is generally done by performing audits. So I know in my company of TMMK, there are many auditors that will go around randomly to different shops, different areas, and perform a 5S inspection. And we will get essentially graded on it. So anything that needs to be done, if there is anything that is out of standard or out of 5S practice, it will be told to the supervisor of that area and will be expected to be fixed. And so this is a way to ensure that 5S is standardized. And those are all of the 5 steps that I have for the 5S process. Thank you for listening to my presentation.